there's a process to deliver all of the detail. Are you going to be involved in that process? How are you feeding into that process? Because I think the thing that people want to understand, and you bang this number out a lot, Tim Gitzel's banged this number out a lot, you guys need $60 a pound. Does the US government, Department of Energy, Minister Bruyette, does he understand that?
I think he does. And by the way, we've had these conversations before he was Secretary Bruyette. And while he was with Department of Energy, so actually we've had these conversations directly with him. And the thing that I think needs to be emphasized is that a price that we absolutely need, or would, if we were at a full-on run rate and fully maximizing our economies of scale? Well, no. But when you're on care and maintenance and you have to spend CapEx to ramp up, you have to explore and develop to replace resources that you're now producing, and you have to provide a reasonable rate of return to your shareholders, then yes, you have to have that type of pricing. I think that the Secretary of Energy is fully aware of that. And to answer your question, will we be engaged in that process? The fact is that yes, in the days ahead, I have conference calls with agencies, commerce, energy. Defense doesn't take calls from us anymore. Once they feel that they know everything, they don't want to talk to you anymore. But when they're gathering data, get in here. We need to talk to you. So, by the way, you can also check your sense of humor at the door if they have none. So, but they're a good group of guys. They understand that what needs to be done here, and I think that's well reflected in the report. So that is one of the things that does excite me, and I think that they've done a great job of expressing. And I'm talking about defense here now, and energy, expressing their very serious concerns here, because they are losing a geopolitical race that they just can't afford to lose.
Well, let's talk about that. Russian suspension agreement. There's two trains of thoughts. One, cut them off. Two, gradually reduce the amount, go from 20, 15, 10, 5, 0. Where are you?
In the last week, there have been a number of developments on that front. First of all, let's start off by saying that this is a program that has been in place that came about as a result of a trade action in 1992. So it's been in place for 28 years. It sunsets, it expires at the end of this year on December 31st. We believe that it is absolutely in the Russians' best interest, if they want to continue to have the kind of access that they have to our marketplace, which is right now currently 20% of domestic consumption, then they need to renew the agreement. As far as the first option, in terms of just cutting it off, there are certainly people who would advocate for that, including high-powered members of Congress. Politically, let's be honest, it's untenable. It's not going to happen. What's going to happen is that we are going to see a renewed RSA agreement, but as you've seen in the working group report, it is very straightforward in calling for a cap. Not only do they believe that the 20% is something maybe we can continue on with, but they'd like to see that dependency reduced over time and a cap put in place. In addition to that, it should be noted that Senators Barrasso out of Wyoming, Republican, and Democratic Senator Heinrich out of New Mexico released a draft of a piece of legislation that they are preparing to submit to Congress that would reduce the Russian imports into our country to 15% and have them steadily decline after that. So I think what you're going to find here is, because of the working group being so emphatic on this point, and because of Senators Barrasso and Heinrich's legislation that will soon be pending, I think that this will give the Russians strong incentive to work out an arrangement that is suitable to them and do it sooner rather than later. Where we stand on that and where we come into play on that is that if you're a uranium producer or a converter, you have to remember what the Russians want to do is that they want to provide enrichment to the United States utilities. That's where they make their money. But what happens is that there are component feedstocks that go into that in the form of U3O8 and UF6. So what we are saying is that, great guys, let's renew an agreement here. Let's get one on the books and let's extend it for another 10 years, 20 if you'd like. But we need to make sure that we are taken into consideration in terms of those component parts. So if there is feedstock that goes into that 20% that you're going to provide of U.S. consumption, then we need to make sure that our interests are provided for. And I think the Department of Commerce is very sympathetic to that and realize that there needs to be a U.S. feedstock component on both the U308 level, yellow cake, and at the conversion level, Converdyn. So I think that the Russian suspension agreement is very much a part of the working group here. And as we talked about in our last conversation, it's part of that holistic approach, but it's a very vital component.
Are you advocating a bifurcated market in terms of pricing there?
That could very well be the case. And I'm not going to, I won't say it now. If we had the 232 and the quota had gone into effect, we know that would have resulted in a bifurcated market. Here, we're seeing uranium prices rise. They're currently at $33, and that's up from $24 just, 4 weeks ago? So we've had a 35% increase in the price of uranium. Will it rise enough that it will do a lot of good for guys outside the United States, some of the foreign explorers, some of the large-scale explorers? That I don't know, whether or not there'll be a bifurcated market, because remember, the action that's being taken here is government action. And that is not dependent on the commercial marketplace or the domestic or the global quotes for U308 or UF6 or even enrichment.
Okay, I guess you guys are going to need to get into the detail, and I guess us guys in the market are going to have to wait for that detail. Last question, because I know you've been on a lot of calls and you're going to be on a lot of calls today. Last question. We've seen the price of uranium, spot price of uranium, recover over the past few weeks. And that's been a case of some caused by Cigar Lake, Kazatomprom, COVID-19 affecting production all around the world. That's well understood now. Do you think today's announcement or lack of detail in this announcement is going to affect that growth in the spot price?
You know what? It's hard to say, and I'm anxious to see the close, just as you are on uranium spot price today. But the fact is that I don't think that it has immediate impact. What has far more impact is the supply destruction that you described. With that supply destruction, 46 million pounds have come out of the market in the last 30 days. I mean, that's 35% of primary production. So, everybody will benefit from, all boats will rise with that rising tide if that spot price keeps rising. And the last time that spot was at $40, our stock was at $2.40. So, yes, no one wants a higher spot price more than we do. I think that we're finally getting to a point, and there's even word that Olympic Dam may shut down in Australia. So you would have 8 of the 10 largest primary producers of uranium on the planet shut in. The utilities have got to be taking note of that. We have seen more RFPs come from them, seen 4 since the beginning of the year that have come to me directly. I've answered all of them. I think we're going to see many more. They've been consuming their own inventories. I think they and their public utility commissions in particular are realizing that's unsustainable. You can't do that. You can't, you're burning your furniture for firewood. They're getting now to the point where they're down below 2 years of reserves in the way they measure it. That's a pretty dicey position for a utility to allow themselves to be placed in. So I can't answer that whether or not we'll continue to see a sustained higher price. I do believe that with the supply that's come out of the market, I think that's good for probably $35 a pound or better. And I think that if Olympic Dam were to come off, or if the Kazakhs were to come out and actually extend their shutdown, which of course has more than a 40% producer of primary production, that will be probably more of a determinant. But the supply demand fundamentals are absolutely reasserting themselves in the marketplace. But our concern for now is that all of the things taking place on the domestic basis with the federal government, and we stand ready to ramp up and deliver into those requirements. My big objective, and I can assure you the objective of our good friends over at Energy Fuels, is to secure contracts before the end of the year, make sure that that our long-suffering shareholders are provided for, and that we give them and show them a viable company for the next 10 years, not just on a personal level or on a corporate level, but this has to happen from a national security standpoint. So for the working group to emphasize that as strongly as they did in their report, I was very gratified to see that. And as I said, as much as we've been saying all these things and really pounding the table over the last couple of years, we weren't certain anybody was listening. But to see it now all in writing is very gratifying. And I do think that it's a serious effort. And we will be working closely with all relevant parties, whether that's members of Congress or the agencies engaged in the working group in the White House itself, which, by the way, has asked us for information on a couple of occasions leading up to this. So we provide them with information when asked, and we will continue to do so, but we will be front and center in this process.